Hey, everybody. For those of you who've been following my reporting regarding a police officer that was spotted in West Oakland wearing a Hawaiian shirt that is in the style of the racist Boogaloo Boys, and this shirt right here. And what happened was that 2 days ago, this photograph was posted early Sunday morning on Facebook in the group, and the person who made the photo called out to the officer. As you can see, the officer's looking in the direction of the camera because the person called out, "Hey, Nazi," and wrote in their Facebook account that the officer was part of a group of 15 officers serving an arrest warrant on a black family in West Oakland. This officer, as you can see, was one of them. He turns. Residents were up in arms. Why, of all people, an Oakland police officer would be out in public wearing a Hawaiian shirt of the specific style of those that are worn by the Boogaloo Boys. One of the Boogaloo Boys is in jail, who was also an Army sergeant, okay, a military officer, for the murder of a federal security guard in Oakland at the federal building. So, perish the idea that a Boogaloo Boy could not be part of law enforcement, because the military is a branch of, well, law enforcement, as is the Oakland Police. So we have this Oakland police officer wearing the Hawaiian shirt of the style of those that are worn by the Boogaloo Boys. And all you have to do is type Boogaloo Boys and Hawaiian shirts to see the number of news accounts that show Boogaloo Boys wearing shirts of that style. Now, Police Chief Susan Manheimer, for reasons best known only to her, was contacted by an Oakland resident, and although she admits she saw my blog post, did not respond to me, but responded to this person, thinking, I suppose, that the person wasn't going to take the email and post it on Facebook, and then went to explain and belittle the idea that this Hawaiian shirt had any connection to the Boogaloo Boys, and choosing to show a photograph, all right, show a photograph of her own, which is in this post right here, from a Tommy Bahama display at Macy's, which Macy's, I don't know. But take a good look at the shirts there. Even though they're Tommy Bahama, none of them fit the pattern of the shirt the officer's wearing, nor do they fit the pattern of the shirts that the Boogaloo Boys wear. And if you're saying, well, show that example, I'm delighted to simply show you the images right there and scroll down. And as you can see, these shirts, okay, and what is a Boogaloo Hawaiian shirts and guns? And these shirts that they wear are commonly more in the style of what he is wearing and not in the style that you saw at Tommy Bahama. They are more floral, they're more obvious. They're not really designed to go out for Hawaiian cocktail party wear. They're designed to make a racist statement. That's their point. Okay? That is their point. So, and as you can see in these accounts, like the Wall Street Journal asks why, or explains why, the extremist Boogaloo Boys wear Hawaiian shirts. New York Times, Boogaloo extremists banned from Facebook. And what do you do when extremism comes from the Hawaiian shirt? Extremist comes for the Hawaiian shirt. Refinery 29, why Hawaiian shirts are the Boogaloo movement uniform. That's June 17th of this year. Far-right Boogaloo movement is using the Hawaiian shirts to hide, and so on. All right? I think now it's fair to say you get the picture. All right? So I received an email response from the Oakland Police Department, for which I thank my friend John Watson. But this is a very difficult time. Throughout the country, law enforcement is under scrutiny for many acts that have been done to African Americans of a nature that can only be described as heinous and also racist. And there is increasing suspicions that white supremacists have managed to become part of the police forces in a number of cities around the country. There has been no investigation widespread to determine who those persons may be and alter those police forces. In all of that environment, an environment where we have African Americans concerned, some nervous over the idea that this United States is becoming, in a number of areas, a racist police state that quite apparently is encouraged by the White House. All of this comes to bear on what the interim police chief of Oakland does next. So she did that. And then this is what I'm going to read to you. Oakland Police sent to me as their statement. And I appreciate their time, and I want to thank them. And I also want to implore them that we all work together to improve our city and our country. I will begin. And this, what I'm about to read to you, is in the body of this video, which will also become a blog post on oaklandnewsnow.com and other blogs within the Zennie 62 media network. Hello, Zennie. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We understand that Hawaiian shirts, in fact, you know what I'll do is I'll position this so that you can read it with your eyes as I'm reading it to you. And that way you don't miss anything. And so let me see where this is. Yes, there we are. Not really able to enlarge that as much as I want. Let me see if I can enlarge that for you by zooming in. Perhaps that will make it somewhat better. And let's see. And once more with feeling, as they say. There we are. All right. There we go. Okay. Now let us begin. Or, in our Star Trek day, as the Squire of Gothos would say, tally ho. Hello, Zennie. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We understand that Hawaiian shirts are often worn by members of the far-right anti-government groups, the Boogaloo Boys, and that seeing a plainclothes officer wearing a similar shirt can be upsetting to many residents in our community. We appreciate that you included the chief's email. We appreciate that you included the chief's email in your post so readers can see her response. The chief's email, I misunderstood something that they said. The chief's email clarifies and explains that the photo is not representative of a Boogaloo member and that Hawaiian shirts are still universally worn despite their use by Boogaloos. The plainclothes officer photographed was unaware of the association and reference a Hawaiian shirt has to an extremist anti-government group. To ensure that this misperception does not occur again, the concern will be shared with all plainclothes officers. Chief Manheimer and all members of the Oakland Police Department share community concerns when perceptions or references are made that would associate OPD with any extremist groups. The department recognizes and understands the pain and suffering caused by such extremist groups, such as the Boogaloos, who are intolerant and instill fear and hatred in our community. The Oakland Police Department stands with our community and will not tolerate any hate crime against anyone in our community. We are dedicated to serving our Oakland community. The Hate Crime Hotline is one of our many efforts to ensure that our community receives the service Oakland deserves. If a community member is a victim of or witness to what they believe to be a hate crime, we encourage them to call the OPD Hate Crime Hotline at 510 637 4283 or the department's non-emergency phone number at 510 777 3333. So my response to what was read was, I just read to you, excuse me, is expressed here. Hello, thank you. But there is a terrible glaring problem. One, the Hawaiian shirt the officer wore is in the style of the Boogaloo Boys. The shirts everyone has seen that were in her photo, many have pointed to as not matching what he wore in terms of pattern. Your response should be to launch an investigation of the Oakland Police Department. I am 3,000 miles from you, from New York to Atlanta to Aurora, Colorado, to you name the city, Kenosha, Wisconsin. We have a problem where law enforcement seems to be harboring a white supremacist element. Root out the problem and fix it. My public call is for that to happen. We must restore trust in the Oakland police force. Finally, the kind of media style I practice is technically based in a direct counter to a style that has allowed this problem to fester. Remember, I practice a news commentary style. There is no such thing as true objectivity. And I offered a document for them to read regarding my pointing out that white journalists must stop institutional racism in media, excuse me. Also, I continue, I only left out the chief's email address because she did not send that to me. To print her email address would have given the impression that she did. I am happy to host Susan Manheimer on my show, and she can directly address in long form this major problem. She must understand that someone Black sees this differently, as do many who are white, best as Zennie. And I have to clarify something here. This is the problem when you are not, talking to each other on the phone, you can gain a true understanding, right? This is the problem that happens when it's trying to interpret a text. I thought that Jonna meant that I didn't print the chief's email address, and I didn't because I didn't want to give anyone the impression that the chief had sent the email directly to me and I was just putting it out anyway. No, it was sent to me by the person who received it from her, who does not want to be identified. Also, I didn't think it was proper, even though the chief's email address is publicly listed, I didn't think it was proper for me to repost it and imply to others that they should contact her directly from my site. I didn't think that was appropriate because of the traffic it may send to her at the time. I felt that, and I still believe that the best way to handle this, and that she should have handled it, was to say, we'll investigate this and leave it at that, rather than post a picture of Tommy Bahama section at Macy's and imply that, oh, there's nothing to see here, when, look, a number of people feel like they're being terrorized by law enforcement. A number of people who are Black. This must stop. There are people out and around this country that have helped to build this country and make it a good and great country. And those people and their works and ideas must be emphasized and amplified. We cannot at all, even one bit, be seen as going the way of an anti-democratic authoritarian government, particularly at a time with an extremely weak economy. All of you watching this must take extra special great care to make absolutely certain this does not happen. This is on you and I and everyone. We must maintain the American system. Thank you. Subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. And in closing, I thank the Oakland Police for their response.